everyone. Today we are going to uh, discuss about one of the future in AWS, one of the AWS service which is called CloudFront. Okay, this is one of the important service which is available in the AWS cloud. So it is a small topic, but it's one of the important topic for AWS Certified Solutions Architect examination. So we'll see what this CloudFront is. So Amazon CloudFront is a content CDN, which is called a content delivery network. So the name itself, we can see it delivers the content. So it is through the network. So through the network, so how we deliver the content. So that's depending on. So that's how we do that in the CloudFront. So it improves the read performance. Content is cached at the edges. So in the beginning, when we discussed about the global infrastructure of AWS, we have seen something called edge locations. Okay, so using those edge locations, so this CloudFront will give a good performance to deliver the content between all the regions. Okay, so and it improves the user experience. Okay, so for example, we say we have an S3 bucket in Australia region. Okay, and this S3 bucket is being used by all the people in the globe. So that means like the resource which is in the AWS bucket, so that is being used by all the people around the globe. That means I have an application here, and that application is accessible by all the people around the world. So if I say, like, if I am a user who is in US region, so when I want to access some endpoint or access some data in this S3 location, so what it will do is, so instead of going and connecting directly to this S3 bucket, so this particular users will be requesting the nearby edge locations or point of presence. Okay, so what this point of presence do is it catches the information which is received from different regions, and it store it inside the edge location. So whenever an user requests this edge location about this particular file in S3 or an object in S3, so this edge location will contact this bucket, and it will get the information. It's stored in the edge location, and it catches the data in the edge location, and it serves the user. So whenever the user again or any other person in this US East region, okay, request for the same object in this bucket, instead of going to the bucket region, and so instead of going to this direct bucket, it fetches the data from the cache and it gives response to the other user. So these two users may not be the same person, they may be in the same region. Okay, so similarly, when a person from a China or something, so he requests for the same object, so what it will do is it will keep the object in the cache or the point of presence in the edge location, and it will serve this person. So any other person from this China region request for the same object, instead of going to this bucket, it will get this object from the point of presence, and it serves the data to that particular person. So this is how, like, we'll reduce the latency between the user and the servers. So instead of getting data all over from the objects, all over from the S3 bucket, that may be an EC2 instance or something, so it will catch the data in the edge location, and it will serve the user. So this will be very quick because it is getting data from the edge location, and it is in the nearby region for this particular person. So if the person from other region requests for the same object, it chooses the nearby edge location, and it gets the data from that edge location. Okay, so it is very powerful because we have 216 point of presence globally, and this point of presence are also called edge locations. Okay, so here we have a graph here in the right side. If you can see, so there is an yellow, there's an orange mark, an orange circle. So these orange circles are something which we call as regions. So this orange circles are something, so they are regional edge caches. okay, and there is a purple dots, so they are like in this location there are like multiple edge locations. So there is a blue dot, so where this is called a single edge location. So these edge locations are spread all over the world. So like whatever country you are requesting the data from, so it will pick the nearby edge location, and it will give you the fastest output or the fastest response from the edge locations. Okay, so and this, by using these CDNs we are transferring the data globally, right? Because like we are transferring the data from Australia to US. Okay, so and through this, like we are sharing the data, or we are delivering the data across multiple countries and multiple continents, right? So the security is the main aspect. So this is like DDoS protection, backed by the DDoS protection, because the data is being delivered worldwide. And we have another options which we can do with CloudFront. We can integration with Shield, and we can use AWS web application firewalls. Okay, so this is the intro about the CloudFront. So CloudFront is used as a content delivery network. So what are the origins from which we can get the data and we can store it in the CloudFront? So there are two origins. One is the S3 bucket, and other is custom origin of HTTP. So that may be an EC2 instance or something. So first we'll see about the S3 bucket. So how we'll use this S3 buckets using this CloudFront for distributing files and catching them in the edge locations. So this is something which we have seen in the previous example. So we can distribute the objects in the S3 bucket, and we can catch them in different edge locations, so that the people around those edge locations can get the object from this edge location instead of going directly to the bucket. Okay, and enhance security with CloudFront origin access control. So this is something we'll see in the hands-on previously. So we'll provide, so because like this data is being shared globally, so they need to be have some security parameter. So we can enhance the security with CloudFront using origin access control. So this origin access control is the new version, and previously it is being called as origin access identity. Okay, so previously it is being called as origin access identity, and now it is being replaced with OAC, which is origin access control. So CloudFront can be used as an ingress. So ingress means something like you can also upload files to S3 using CloudFront. So not only read, so you can also upload files to S3 using this CloudFront. So this process of uploading a file from CloudFront to S3 is called ingress. Okay, so coming to the HTTP origins. So in the HTTP origins, we can catch the data which is coming from the application load balancer, so or EC2 instance. Say like you have done a HTTP call to get a web page or something. Okay, so whenever you do that HTTP call, so the edge locations will receive that HTTP page, and they will keep them in the cache location. And whenever any person around this location looks for the same or request for the same web page, so you'll get the output from the edge location. You'll get the response from the edge location. So, and this is also used to in the S3 websites. We have created some S3 websites, right? So we can also catch this S3 websites response, and to do that, first the S3 bucket must be enabled as a static S3 website. Okay, so any HTTP backend you want, so any HTTP requests, so you create in your EC2 instance or to load balancer or anything, you can get it to the edge locations, and you can make it fast and make it available fast for the people who are in and around that edge locations. Okay, so the main concept of this CloudFront is to make the data to reach the particular user who requests the data so very fastly. Okay, without any loading or without any latency. Okay, so we'll see how it works in a high level. So say like this is your client system, or this may be your mobile or your laptop or something. So when you request the when you do an HTTP call requesting a web page, say like I want /beach.jpg, this particular file. Okay, so what it will do is it will go to the CloudFront and it will check in the CloudFront is this particular page is available in the CloudFront or not. Okay, so if it is not available in CloudFront, then this CloudFront will connect to this S3 bucket or this HTTP endpoint. So these are the origins from where we are getting the data, and it will pull the data from those origins and it will first serve the client with the response. So this is something like a request and a response. So the client is requesting for some data or some an object from S3, and it sends the request to the CloudFront or the edge location. And this edge location, if it doesn't hold the data, it goes to the origin and pulls the data from there and serves the client. So after serving this, it will also keep the data in the cache location for some time, which is called TTL, time to live. So this TTL is something which we have seen in the route 53 part. So time to live is something how much time it holds the data in this cache, that is called TTL. So for some TTL, it will put the data in this cache, and for that time, so say like the cache is for 24 hours. Say like the person A is requesting for this data in an S3. So the person here requested a data in S3, so the data is not available in the edge location. So this CloudFront will pull the data from S3 and get the data, and it serves the user, and again it serves the user, and again it will save the data in this local cache. Okay, so once the data is saved in local cache, so as we set our TTL for 24 hours, so whenever another request comes from the user, okay, so instead of going to the S3 bucket, it will check in this cache in the CloudFront and it will serve the user from here. So it won't go to the S3. So for 24 hours, it gets the data from the cache for all the users who is around. So not only the single user, the users who are around this user or around this country, because the data is already saved in this edge location, so that we can get a faster response when compared to the first request. So in first request, we are traveling all through the S3 and we are getting data and we are serving it. And after that, when we have the data in the CloudFront, we are getting data from the CloudFront, and it is a cache, and it will be more faster. Okay, and there won't be any latency. So this is how the CloudFront works at a high level. So this is a small concept, just try to understand like how it works. We'll see another example. So how this CloudFront is work with an S3 origin. So say like you have an S3 bucket, okay, and this S3 bucket have some origin access control. This is for the security purpose, okay, and say you are this S3 bucket, okay, it is located somewhere in some region. Okay, now we have users in some like United States region. So these people like are requesting a object from the S3 bucket. So what it will do is, so the data in the S3 bucket in the first request, that will be pulled to this edge location and it will be stored in this cache. Okay, so any people from the US region then request for the same object, instead of going to the S3 bucket, it will get the data from the edge location in this Los Angeles. Similarly, if you are another user who are using this from the like European region, okay, so it will catch that and keep that in the edge location which is in the Europe, and it serves the all the people in the Europe from this edge location. So same happens in this too also. Okay, so this network is fast because like, so this is the request from the user to the edge location will come from the like internet, right? So the people access this particular edge location through internet, and all these items or like all these services are in around the AWS cloud. This edge location and this S3 bucket, this all are in AWS environment and AWS infrastructure cloud. So the communication between the S3 bucket and the edge location is very fast because it is using private AWS network. So through this private AWS network without any internet, so it will put the data in this edge location very quickly. and when the user is trying to get the data from the edge location, so it is anyway nearby his location, so there won't be any latency for the user to get the data. Okay, so if any people, so if your application or if your uh, web application or if your mobile application is spread like globally, so all the people in the world are using your applications, then so this will be the optimal solution for you, because all the people around the globe can access a single point data without any latency using these edge locations. Okay, so we have seen this. So we have another option in the S3 bucket also. What we'll do is we'll replicate this data when we learn S3. So we have seen something like a cross-region replication. So there's an option in S3 which is called cross-region replication. So what this will do is, so if the data in this bucket, okay, say like this bucket is in US East 1, so that is in the US region. So but the people in the AP South region, that is in the Mumbai or Asia, they are also want this data. So if you want to do it from an S3 service, what we'll do is we'll create a replication, cross region replication. That means they will replicate this bucket, so they will maintain a copy or a replica of this bucket in the AP South region also. Okay, so that any person from Asia try to get the object from this bucket, so it will serve the people in Asia from the replication bucket instead of getting the data from the US region. So this is called like cross region replication. So what is the difference between this cross region replication and CloudFront? So CloudFront is also used to serve the data in one bucket to different people, and S3 cross region replication is also doing the same thing, because it is creating a same bucket in the other region and it is serving the people who are around that region. So why we need to use CloudFront instead of, okay, and cross region replication in S3? So one is coming to the CloudFront. So what are the difference between CloudFront and S3 cross region replication? So we'll see this. So in the CloudFront, it is a global edge network, because like it is being using the edge locations, and the edge locations are spread all over the globe. Okay, so files are cached for some time, TTL. So for some TTL, the files are getting cached. Okay, so great for static content that must be available everywhere. So when we use this CloudFront is whenever our data is not changing, so we have a static data without any changes, so then the CloudFront is the optimal solution to use that. So coming to the S3 cross region replication, so you must set up for other region you want the replications to happen. So here what we are doing is we are keeping the data which if you use the CloudFront, what we are doing is, so we are getting the data from the S3 and we are catching it for some time. Okay, so that time is called TTL. Okay, and after that time we'll remove the data from these edge locations. Okay, so we are not storing this data in the edge locations permanently, we are storing it for some time only. So when coming to the S3 replication, S3 cross region replication, you need to maintain the same bucket and same objects in the other regions. So that means you must set up for each region you want to replicate. So if you want to replicate that data for like all the 8 or like all the 12 regions or something, so you need to copy this bucket items, okay, for all the 12 regions, and you need to maintain the replica. Okay, so that will cost us a little bit more, because you are keeping, so say like if it is a 1 GB data, okay, and if you want to spread it across all the 12 regions or something, so you need to create another 11 buckets. So overall you will get 12 buckets and you need to pay for 12 GB of data. And we also don't know like all the data in the S3 bucket is being used, or only partial data of S3 bucket is being more used by the users. Okay, so at that point, so we need to create more number of, okay, cross region replication for every region. Okay, so files are updated near real time. So whenever you update a file in a S3 bucket, it will be automatically replicated in all the other region buckets. Okay, and this will be available only for the read only. So whenever you want to get a file only, you will be using this cross region replication. So cross region replication will be used only for the read only objects. So the advantage is like it is great for the dynamic content that need to be available at low latency in few regions. So whenever you want to because like whenever you put an object in the S3 bucket, it will automatically immediately replicate all the other buckets, and there won't be any TTLs. Okay, you will get the content like dynamic content without any latency. You won't get any old content. Okay, so at this time we can use cross region replication like that to make the low latency, and you need to maintain the dynamic content available. So if you are using a static content, then go for the CloudFront. Okay, so we'll see how we'll use this CloudFront with our AWS S3. So we'll create a small bucket and we'll see it on hands-on. So now I'm going to my AWS console. So now I'm in my AWS console. So now I'll switch to my Mumbai region. Okay, to see the CloudFront, so first we'll create a sample bucket here, and we'll try to access the objects in the bucket through CloudFront. Okay, so I'll create a sample bucket here. I'll call it as my demo CloudFront. So I'm creating this bucket. I'll leave all this like this. So I'm now blocking all the public access so that I cannot access my bucket from public. So I'll create this bucket. So this name is already exist. I'll say it as V2, CloudFront V2. Okay, so now I have my demo. Okay, CloudFront bucket. So I'll try to put some objects in this. I'll upload some objects, add files. So I have an index file here, so I'll upload this index file, and along with that I'll add some images. So I'll add an image, I'll add another image. So I have added two images here, and I have added an index file. Okay, and I am uploading it into my bucket. Okay, so now I have added this. I close this. So if I open this index.html and if I open it from here, see I have just write hello world, how are you, and I have kept an image here. Okay, so this image is something so I tried to put this dog image in this HTML page. Okay, so but like as this image is not public image, so we are not able to access it. Okay, so access it here. Okay, so but if you want to open this URL, so it won't be open because the bucket is not a public, so all these items in the bucket are not accessible publicly, so we'll get an access denied. So we are unable to use this index.html publicly because this bucket is a private bucket. So instead of doing this, like we have seen this in S3, so if we make this particular bucket as a public, then we'll be able to access this index.html. So but I don't want to make all my elements in my bucket as public. So what I'll do is I'll create a CDN, or I'll create a CloudFront. I'll access this through the CloudFront. We'll see how it works. And if you see what is in this index.html, I'll also open that. So if you go here, I'm opening my index.html page. So this is my index.html. So here we have some code. We have a title called hello world and how are you paragraph. So here I am putting an image. So this is doc.jpg and this doc.jpg is just here beside this, but we are unable to access it because this doc.jpg is not a public element, so or a public object. Okay, so here we have forget about this, just we have a image and a body tag. Okay, so as it is the text which is inbuilt in the index.html, so we are able to see when we open the index.html, but this image is not public, so we are unable to open it. So what we'll do is we'll make all the items in the S3 bucket will be accessible. Okay, all the items in the S3 bucket will be accessible to public with CloudFront, so without making this entire bucket as a public bucket. So we'll see how it works. So now I'll go to my CloudFront. So I'll open my CloudFront. Okay, so open this. So I am creating a new distribution here. Create distribution. Okay, so here I'll give my origin name. So my origin is some bucket. We can select some elastic load balancers or S3 bucket and API gateways. We can give all this as origins for the CloudFront. So here we can see the bucket which we have created. So this is the bucket which I want to access with the CloudFront. So I am selecting this as origin. Okay, so this is my demo CloudFront v2 bucket. Okay, and here we'll see, so we don't want to access it publicly, but because like to use this the bucket must be made public, so here bucket must allow public access. So we are not doing like we are adding some security here. So here we are using OAC, so which we have seen. So origin access control, so this is recommended. So this is the previous one which is a access identity OAI. So this is now being deprecated. So here this is being replaced with the OAI. So this is what we are using. We are creating a origin access control. That means we are allowing the origin access for this particular bucket. So we are not allowing the public traffic. We are only allowing the CloudFront to access these objects. So here we need to create a control setting. So click on this. So we have a name and the origin type is S3 because we are using this S3 bucket, and we'll create this control settings. So here after creating this control settings, you will get an option like this. See, you must update the S3 bucket policy. Okay, so what we'll do is, we have seen about the bucket policies, right? So to make the things access of this bucket, to make all the objects in this bucket accessible, we need to update the access control. Okay, we need to give permissions and we need to access the bucket we need to control the bucket policy. So here also it is saying you need to update the S3 bucket policy which you have selected, and you need to allow this CloudFront to access the data. So we'll do that, and so you can leave all this like this, and only one thing you need to change is here. So this is the default root object. So what is the default root object you need to get when you call a CloudFront URL? So here I'll mention index.html. So I want my index.html to be a default root object. So whenever I use a CloudFront URL, it will by default go to index.html if I didn't give any object name. Okay, so that's it. You can go and create the distribution. So you need to enable the security protection. Just check this. So after this you can just check this. Okay, and just create a distribution. So now my CloudFront distribution is being deployed. So it is deploying, and here you can see, so the S3 bucket policies need to be updated because as this CloudFront distribution wants to use the S3 bucket or S3 bucket. Okay, so it is saying, so go to your S3 bucket and allow this CloudFront to access those objects. So you can copy the policy here, so you don't need to write a new policy, and you can click on this here. So by any chance if you close this, so if you want to get this, you can go to this origins and you can select the origin. So you can edit the origin and you can go all out here and you can copy the policy from here. Okay, and you can click here to go to the S3 bucket permissions. Okay, so I'm going to my, so now I'm in my S3 bucket, so it will directly go to my permissions tab, so I can copy the policy here. So I'll edit this policy and I am giving this policy here. So this is my bucket, my demo v2. So here in the policy, if you can see, we are saying, so this is the ARN of the CloudFront. So this is the ARN of AWS CloudFront of this particular account, and the distribution unique ID is this one. Okay, so what we are doing is we are using this particular ARN, and we are in the action. If you see, the effect is allow. We are allowing. Okay, and we are allowing, the action is get object. So we are allowing all the objects to get permission from this for this particular bucket. See stars. So if you can see my demo CloudFront v2 bucket / star. So we are allowing all the elements or all the objects in this bucket. Okay, the permission is to get the objects, and we are giving the permission to this CloudFront. Okay, so this is the policy. Okay, and we'll go and we'll save the changes. So now my changes are saved. I'll go back to my CloudFront. This is my CloudFront. So this is being deployed and enabled. So if I go to my CloudFront here, so we'll get a CloudFront URL. So I'll copy this. So it is still in the deploying mode, so it need to be enabled. So we'll need to wait for few minutes. So meanwhile, let us try with this URL. So see now, so it is now accessing my S3 bucket, and now I got my image from the S3 bucket. So I haven't made my S3 bucket public, but still the CloudFront URL is accessing the objects in the S3 bucket, and it is showing the data. Okay, and it is pulling the data from the S3 bucket. So if I want to see, so this is my S3 bucket, right? So if I go to my S3 bucket, we have two images. So we have doc.jpg. So if I go /doc.jpg, so first I'll open the inspect elements to show you how the CloudFront works. So I'll go to this network, and if I go and hit the doc.jpg, JPEG, I think JPEG. So I got my image. So I haven't made this image as a public image in S3, but still we are getting this through CloudFront. And if you see here the doc.jpg, okay, so if you see the response is 200. Okay, and here it is, see, it is from the CloudFront, and the encryption is not there, so it is missing from the CloudFront. Okay, and it is, so this is the first time we fetch the data from this S3 object. So what it will do is it will get the data from the CloudFront and it will put it in the cache. So next time if you refresh it, it won't load. See, so it is getting the data from 304, it is getting it from the cache. So there won't be any loading if you refresh this. See, the image is getting, so it is getting the image, but it is getting from the cache. So it is very fast when compared to getting the data directly from the bucket. So if you go to cat.jpg, so if you see this, so it is now getting the data from the bucket, and we got it from 200, the status 200. Okay, so if you refresh it, see, so it is not even loading, it is getting data directly from the cache, and it is very fast. If you see here, so first when you see, it is said it is missing from the CloudFront, so it went to the S3 bucket and got the data. Okay, so now if you see here, I think this is very little, but we cannot increase the size of this, I think. So just see here. So now it is saying we are getting the hit from the CloudFront. So we are not getting data from the S3, we are getting the hit from CloudFront. So this is very fast when compared to directly getting the data from S3 bucket. So there won't be any latency as we are getting this data from the edge location using the CloudFront. So this is how the CloudFront works. Okay. So the main reason of this CloudFront is it will catch the data in the nearby edge locations, and whenever you access the data, it will get the data from the edge locations and it will give you a faster response without any latency. Okay, so that's about the CloudFront. Okay, so this is my distribution. Okay, this is enabled now, we can see. So this is here where you get the domain name for this CloudFront. Okay, so back to our slides. So we have created a CloudFront and we have given an access of the S3 bucket to the CloudFront, and we fetched the objects from S3 bucket using CloudFront. So we can also use the CloudFront with application load balancer and EC2 as origin also. So here in the first one, if you see, so here in the first one, if you can see, okay, so here, so we can use the application load balancer or EC2 as a origin for the CloudFront also. So we have a set of users who are using this. You want to get the EC2 instances. To access this EC2 instance from the CloudFront, so this EC2 instance must be publicly available. So that must be internet facing and that must have a public IP address. Okay, so whenever a user requests the EC2 instance, it gets the data and it catches the data in the edge location. Whenever the other users in the same region request for the same page, then it gets the data from the edge location, okay, or the CloudFront, and it will serve the other people. Okay, so if you want to use it with the load balancer for the private instances, so you can also configure this. Okay, configure this a application load balancer. Whenever the users, okay, hit a URL, it will go to the application load balancers and it will get the data from the instance. Okay, and it will store it in the edge location. So whenever the other people in this region or in this location or in this geographical location access for the same data, it gets the data from the edge locations and it serves the people like who request it. Okay, so here what we want to do is we need to allow the public IP of all edge locations. Okay, so we know that all EC2 instances have a security group and we allow the traffic to the EC2 instance excuse me, through this security group. Okay, so in this security group you need to enable all the IPs of the CloudFronts to access the EC2 instance. So here is the URL where you will get all the list of CloudFront IPs, and you take this all the IPs and you need to add it in your security group. Similarly, while using the application load balancer also, you need to allow all the public IPs of edge locations in your load balancer security group, so that this load balancer will allow all the traffic from your edge locations, because the edge locations are the things which are hitting the application load balancers and getting the data. Okay, so instead of getting that directly from the user, so these edge locations, okay, so users are accessing these edge locations and we are using these edge locations to connect to our load balancer and get the data. Okay, fine. So this is how we use the application load balancers or the EC2 instance directly using this CloudFront. Okay, so coming to the pricing, how the pricing will happen is, so it will be based on the requests. So CloudFront will be price like CloudFront costs you based on the request you passes through the CloudFront to the objects. Okay, so CloudFront edge locations are all around the world, so the cost of data out per edge location varies. So based on the edge location which you are using, so the cost will be varied. So here if you see, we have all the regions from left to right, the cost is increasing. Okay, so how it cost is, if you are using for the first 10 terabytes of requests, so each request will be taking some data, right? So for all the 10 terabytes of data transfer through CloudFront, you will be paying like $0.085 in United States, and if you this will be increasing all over here, and if it comes to India, here it will be almost double, so it will be $0.170 in India. Okay, so as like how many requests, like how much data or how many requests that increases, the cost will be decreased based on that. So if you are using 5 petabytes of data, then it will be only $0.020, and it comes to India, it is like $0.1. Okay, so based on the requests and based on the region, so the cost will be varied for the CloudFront distribution. Okay, so the more number of requests you do, the less amount you will pay. Okay, so we'll see another image also. So we have some price classes also. So say like your application is hosted in the Europe region, and I don't want any other like regions too, and I don't want any other edge locations to access. So then also you can go for some price class. So there are 3 price classes. So one is price class all. So in this, all regions performance will be enabled. So that means you will be using all the edge locations in all the regions. So and other one is class 200, and here in this, like most of the regions will be available, and most of the edge locations in these regions will be available, and the content will be distributed among these particular regions only, and it won't go to any other regions. Okay, but like it won't be allowing some regions, but most of the like expensive regions it being allowed in the class 200. And we have price 100, only the least expensive regions will be available. So here we have like expensive regions and like least expensive regions in this here. Okay, so these are the expensive regions and these are the least expensive regions. Okay, so here based on this expensive, so if you pick class 200, so most of the regions will be available, but the expensive regions will be excluded. Okay, that means the India region or the Asia region will be excluded in this class 200. If you go for class 100, only the least expensive regions only will be available. So if you see this image, so first if you go with class 100, so this is the blue dots. So if you see the blue dot line, only these 2 regions will be available in the class 100, that is the US region and the Europe region will be available. So if you go for class 200, we have other 2, the Middle East and the Asia will also be available. Okay, so if you go for all, so all the edge locations across the globe will be available to share the data or share the to distribute your content. Okay, so this is how you can pick a price class. So if you say my applications are only being used by the people in US and Europe, so there are no other people from the globe, so then you can go for class 100. So if you say like my application is being used by the Asia also, then you will go for class 200. Okay, if you want to go for all regions, that means if your application is spread globally and if you want all the users to get the content very fastly, then you go for price class all. Okay, so this is how we'll pick the price class and we'll see the pricing. And there is one more last topic. This is the last topic in the CloudFront. This is called cache invalidation. Okay, so the main target of our CloudFront is to get the data very quickly from the cache, right? Okay, say like you have a CloudFront distribution here and you have 2 edge locations which are being caching your applications. So we have index.html and images in your application, okay, which is being cached in one edge location, and you have this same index.html and images which is being used by some other people, and this image and this index.html is cached in your edge location. So we already know this each edge location will have some TTL for all the files. So that means if you whenever you use this index.html from a region, it will store the index.html in this cache location for some TTLs from time. Say like the time is 24 hours. Okay, so within these 24 hours, if you change anything in your index.html, that won't be updated in the edge location, because the TTL is set to 24 hours. After 24 hours only, again it will get the data from the S3 bucket. Okay, so what we want to do is like I have done some changes in my S3 bucket. So this S3, this index.html and images, all these are placed in this S3 bucket only, and whenever the people are using this, it is getting the object from the S3 bucket and it is catching in the edge locations. Okay, so what I have done is I have updated some files in this S3 bucket. So I have updated this index.html and this images in S3 bucket. But the people who are accessing this data in the S3 bucket, they are getting the data from the edge locations, because these are cached in the edge locations, and they are still getting the old data, because this data will be the TTL is set to 24 hours and we won't get the new data till 24 hours. So till 24 hours we'll get the data which is in the edge location only. But what I want to do is I want to force the users, or I want to force the edge locations to get the data or pick the new data from my S3 bucket or origin. So then what we'll do is we'll invalidate. So what this is, cache invalidation. So through this cache invalidation, so in case if you want to update the backend origin, or CloudFront does not know about it, and you will only get the refreshed content after the TTL has expired. Okay, so whenever the TTL has expired only, you will get the refreshed data. However, you can force the entire partial cache refresh by performing the CloudFront invalidation. You can invalidate all files, or you can invalidate some files. If you want to invalidate all the files in the S3 bucket, you can do that, or if you validate only few, you can do that. So what we'll do is you'll go to your CloudFront and you will say invalidate my index.html and images folder /star. So that means all the images in the images folder. So invalidate these things. So then what this invalidate do is it will remove the index.html and images from its cache. So whenever a new user comes and requests this, then what it will do is so we have invalidated these files, then this request will directly again go to S3 bucket. So it will pick the new index.html and images, and it will serve the person or serve the user, and it will also keep the new index.html and images in the cache. Okay, so this is how we can forcefully remove the data from the cache and update the new files in the cache. So you can invalidate the old data, or you can invalidate the cached data in the edge location, and you can force it to pull the new data from the origin. Okay, so this is how the cache invalidation works. So this is also one of the important concepts. So because it comes like in most of the use cases, you will be updating your website or something, and you need to make that effect to go globally within no time. So you will use invalidate for this. Okay, that's it for the CloudFront. This is a small topic, but it is a useful topic in AWS. Okay, so we have seen all this, and that's it.